Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Eddie Marcus, and I'm here again on my mission to bring truth in a fashion that is clearer to all those that hear it for the benefit of being set free. Today, I want to kind of focus in on a topic matter like believing in fake and real. Believing in fake and real. Now, I am supposing that, like me, most human beings believe in a superior power that some call God, and some might have other names for it. But I better put this on hold, because this is serious. Excuse me. Hello?
Yeah.
What's up?
You tried to call me?
I might have been by accident. You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. Did you talk to George?
Yeah, I told you said you were going to be late.
Did you tell her about just staying here for the night?
No, I didn't tell her that, but I already thought about that. I'll call and tell her that later.
And then after, well, this don't matter how the weather is.
Right.
I had some peanut butter crackers I thought I brought. I can't find them.
Where you at? You driving?
Oh, yeah, I just got to see gas.
Now, I don't know what the peanut butter crackers are.
Hmm.
Where you at?
Okay.
Where you at?
What?
Where are you?
Here's some Madison from the jail.
You haven't made the Madison yet.
But then you thought I had to step.
Yeah, I thought that.
I was serious about the rain slowing me down.
I thought
You
the.
got some ransom.
I thought the last time I talked to you, you said you were just a few miles from Madison.
From the Madison exit.
Okay, well, let me let you go ahead on to finish doing what you're doing, and I'll call Joyce Ann in a few minutes and tell
Okay.
her. All right.
Bye.
Bye. Well, these incidents, I want to thank you so very much for uh, bearing in on that with me. Well, here we go. Believing in fate and believing in what's real. And as I was saying, everybody got some figure that, as I call God, they might have other names, but it implies the same reference. Now, when you think about God, then you start thinking about being something that God loves, that lift you up. You know, it's almost like trying to be like your parent, like being like your daddy. Your daddy there, you like what your daddy's doing, so you're gonna grow up, you're gonna be like your daddy. Might be a businessman, might be an athlete, might be a teacher, might be a scientist, might be an entertainer or a thinker, but you won't be just like your dad. And you know how amazing that is. But when you're growing up thinking about God, and your imagination just go crazy, and you see God as being all of everything, then you want to grow up and be like God. You want to be like be like everything, especially when you're young. Me, myself, I was raised by my great grandparents. My mother happened to have me when she was just a kid. And so my grandmother was kind of still young, having babies. So they had to pass me over to another generation, which perhaps might have been a blessing to me. But my great grandfather, he was a mason, and watching him, when sometimes I see him with that attire on, maybe that apron, or I see that shield, and it would. I had my thought thing for a mason was that it was next to God, that there was nothing closer to God than a mason. I really had that image. Now, the reason it was easy for me to accept is because I knew, even as a kid, to me, the church was fake. I mean, you go to church and you hear them tell you about all of that wonderful stuff in the Bible. I mean, when you hear some preachers talk about the Bible, it is some really beautiful, wonderful stuff. You know, it doesn't lift you beyond your problems of the world, but it makes you believe in something beyond that, that someday you perhaps might get your reward if you can just stay on that battlefield. And you sit there and you have all of these things coming in at you, and you take the stuff in. And then you go back out in your everyday life, and everything just as it was. The crime, the violence, the some got, the some don't, the poverty. And you say, what did going to church this Sunday mean? What did it really mean? What does it mean any Sunday you go to church? So to me, as a kid, the church was fake. If the Bible was true, if the preaching was true, then all the human expressions of it outside of it on Sundays was all fake. But now then, that wasn't just that day. That is the same this day. The thing that happened perhaps a little bit yesterday is that Dr. King came along. He came along and he exemplified what the preachers talked about. He exemplified in his activities, in his approach to dealing with that gospel and its association with people in a different form, a different fashion. And it had some results, bringing us to a new level, a new understanding about what it means to accept God and let God's Spirit allow you to guide you in the steps that you make towards some goals, some particular and specific goals. And that gave a new light so you could understand, get a clear picture of what you saw being preached and how you saw it being translated in your daily life, which gave some life, some realness to the church. But now since then, basically it's gone back to what it always been. You know, just whatever it does on Sunday, and the next 6 days it goes back to what it was before. Nothing changes. And so it all turns out to be fake when you look at it like that. That's the church, and I'm just explaining to you some basic things that people have to deal with every day. It ends up being what you might consider hypocrisy. But the Dr. King day, what happened in his day, showed no hypocrisy. But it also brings you to a level of some other kinds of things like pledges, you know, fraternal organizations and what they mean. I remember, just to give an example of what I want to say to you, let me share this with you. There was a friend of mine, we were in college together, and we had decided we were going to join some fraternal organizations. I'm not going to say which ones, but we had decided that we were going to go to this particular organization because it had this image of being something that we both agreed that we were. Okay, so one day, we hadn't decided just when we were going to do it, but one day my friend came up to me and said that he had gone through that initiation stage of becoming a member of a fraternal organization, and it was one that we had not discussed. And it had an image, one that it was what you call, well, something that I didn't need to be a part of an organization of to engage myself in such conduct. Anyway, after I saw that, I decided, well, what we had planned didn't turn to any fruit. So I decided to hold back and not pledge, but I watched him go through his initiation pledging, and the humiliation I saw people going through and what they're willing to go through to be a part of an organization that does what? I'm thinking about when you start talking about justice and stuff like this, then if you're not for justice, then you're against justice. So what is this thing that makes this fraternal organization so special? And then you find out they do have those things that makes them special. But anyway, I didn't see myself pushing eggs all over Capitol with my nose in public. Any way I wanted to prove to anybody that I shared their view. And no, not me. And so I was glad that I did not go to that fraternal persuasion. But where did this leave me? Where did this leave me? Everything, it seemed, was just so far fake. When you think about it, you know, you had what we call the normal life, the real life, but the end of the day, what it produced was nothing but fakeness. It wasn't the real thing. You think about it. In time, I've learned, and I'm sure you have, that all American Christians, well, if you didn't know, well, let me share it with you. There was a time when all American Christians rejected heaven's proposal. They rejected heaven's proposal for you the people, not just in America, but all over the earth, to experience heaven on earth. Now, most of you didn't know about it because those who did know about it didn't care enough about it to see that you got knowledge of it. And so everybody lost. If it were any good, if it were possible, everybody lost because it did not happen. And yet, even though that was rejected, they found it okay to accept Donald Trump. I mean, really, what's the trade-off from what your heaven on earth or from what you're going through right now with a dictator who is doing exactly what dictators do? They lie, they cheat, they steal, and they will kill you to maintain their power. They will even kill their own relatives, let alone any whistleblower or anybody else like that. And this is what America is threatened by today, by closing their eyes on the truth. And you didn't just close your eyes on the truth. You didn't understand the truth. You have been brought to a point that the truth came straight to you and you couldn't even recognize the truth. That means you have been so brainwashed. When I say brainwashed, I'm talking about from that innocence that you had when you came onto this plane called Earth. And you, a human being, indoctrinated from your birth. All of that natural love, that natural compassion, that natural way of life was wiped clean, and you were branded with all that you are, that has substantiated and still, even in this degraded state, support the status quo, and have belittled yourselves to go so low, so low, so low, that you're selling out even your Constitution, which is nothing but a minor thing when compared to heaven on earth. But by George, my friends, my brothers, what does that leave me? A marriage, one of the most sacred relationships. Same kind of thing you Christians should have with God. All of you should have with God. God should be able to depend on every last one of you. And every last one of you should be able to depend on God and know it. That's what a marriage is all about. You can depend upon God, and God can depend upon you. You're taking care of God's business that needs to be taken care of in the physical form. God nourishes you, instructs you through His Spirit. That Spirit that lives in you guides you, and you do the things of the Spirit because you are of the Spirit. And you carry forward an agenda of God's love to all of the human race. That's what you do. A marriage, a real marriage. But like the physical marriage, you take those vows right before witnesses, right before God, and some legal authority who's going to sign off on it and say it was all legit. And you make these promises about everlasting life. And you're lucky if you can make it through it. But at least by half the way, half the people fall on the side. They say, no, the vows didn't mean a thing. And some people really were serious about that stuff, but didn't make a difference. The state sanctioned it and signed on the dotted line and says, you are no more. And where does that leave you? Where does that leave you? Everything, it seems. Where can you put your faith in? Well, there are those who have received a miracle. And those miracles, they are not fake. They are real. And they are loving. And so you might find yourself standing out there seemingly alone, but you are not alone. It is the power that was able to produce those miracles that perhaps only you are familiar with in this particular situation. And it is about your authority. And you got the authority because you are the one who received the miracles, not somebody else who heard about it. No, no. You are the ones. And it is incumbent upon whomever much is given, much is required. You don't have to imagine that God is. I know, ladies and gentlemen, that God is. It is my duty and responsibility to stand up for what is right, knowing that you don't know what's right. If you did, you would do what's right. And so I got to tell you that right now we need to do what's right, because you're going down a path that's going to lead you to some place you do not want to go. I want you to know, I'm going to say this a couple of times. Believing in faith and believing in real. Somewhere down the line, you got to wake up and know the difference between the two. And the hope is that you can receive the real. Now, what is the real? Some people say the real is that which you can identify with your senses. And some people say the real is that which has been hidden and you knew not. And now you do. It separates the fake which pretended to be. But now you have the truth, the real. So however you look at it, it serves its purpose quite well. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes down to this political season, let me tell you something that you need to know. And if you listen to my videos, I have shared it with you constantly. It's just as important, and I'm going to share it with you again. It almost seems as if the administration that is presently in the office of this nation, the higher office of the presidency and that whole administration, it seems to represent something that is totally anti-God, as we as American people have been taught. I didn't say the way we acted. No, we acted just like we were anti-God. But we were taught a little bit different. And now you have somebody who is really putting it up front, forgetting what you were taught, and putting it on Front Street the way you act. And it represents a sickness that only could exist because of all of the human race, all of America's people have sunk this low. Even if there are different degrees, it measures up, it balances out to be right here. And this is low. This is a low blow. But think about how low it is in Russia to be under that kind of dictatorship. That's lower than low. Think about how low it got to be in North Korea under that type of dictatorship, where if it's true that he kills his own people, his own blood for power, think about what it's like in all these dictatorial systems of government, how people submit themselves. China, or think about how nations of people all over the earth are being exploited to do things to facilitate other organizations or other nation states to benefit them. Oh, above all, oh man, this is sick. This is absolutely sick. It is sick. Woo! It's not funny, but it's sick. Boy, only knew, if you only knew how much joy was out here if you changed your ways. If you only knew how to receive the love of life from the giver of love and life. You turn this joke, this power that has this hold on you, that says in some states you can smoke weed and in other states you can't, that will give you the liberty to sit on the sidewalk and smoke a joint in one city and another city give you 10 or 15 years for doing likewise. Man, what kind of system of America is that? What does it truly represent? And you the people. You know, it's you. It's you, it's you. It's you, it's you. I want you to know, America, that it's you. Your government is you. Believe it or not, your government is you. And those of you who go to church, your pastor and what you guys do in that church right there, that represents your God. That represents your God. And what your God allows you to do after you walk outside of those walls and how it's interpreted, that represents you in relationship to your God. Now, how many of you are proud of your relationship with your God? And if you are proud, why are you proud? Is it because you got a nice job? Is it because you got a nice house, a nice car? Is it because your kids can go to a nice school and doing pretty good, making pretty good grades? Bills are paid, nobody's hungry? Is it because things might not be so good, but you make it, you got a paycheck to paycheck? Is it because that life is hard and it's been worse for you and even now it might be bad, but not as bad as it was? Could be that things have always been bad for you and it seems that this is just the way it is and that's the way it's always going to be? It's like a wall that separates the borders. It separates those who don't have from those that do. And it's a crazy, 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 crazy thing. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say that the whole purpose of this message, believing in fake and believing in real, is that once you know what's real, it would be behoven if you could walk according to that. So I want you to know that you can still go to the polls if you have, like the altar call. When you go to church, they have the altar call. If you want to join, give your soul to God, join this organization, please come forward to the altar. Well, this is similar to an altar call. If you have the renewing of your mind, the renewing and changing of your heart, and the receiving of a new spirit, a spirit of love, the spirit of God that you want to lead you, to guide you down this path of life that gives you joy, peace, and prosperity, and freedom, and the fulfillment of your only dreams, knowing that it is guaranteed because you yourselves have decided to play a participation in that process by allowing that spirit of God's love to be a part of you, and you will go forward according to the dictates and the directions of the spirit of love to do God's will, that the darkness that we've lived in and been overwhelmed with all of our lives can be removed by the light of a new spirit of love that's been engendered by the power of Lord God Almighty. And it is you, ladies and gentlemen, who will go to those polls and write in the name Eddie Marcus, representing that you yourselves have decided that you are a new creature and you are an experiment that is to be represented here in this nation, so that the people can see the difference between those who are familiar and are servants of God, so that they can become one too. So I want to thank you, ladies and gentlemen, as I have invited you to go to those polls. But for those those of you who are hungry, we don't have time to wait to no polls. I say to you, let me know if a group of you are fed up with being broke. Let me know if a group of you are tired of begging, tired of being misrepresented in such a way that it makes you look like you are something less than what you are. And you want to do something about it. You're tired of being tired. You want to do something different, something that will make a difference, and you are willing to commit yourself. If you ever get to that point, please let me know, because I'd love to be in the middle of something just like that, as long as you're committed to love. Because there, my friends, is the answer to all of our prayers. So until next time, this is Eddie Marcus saying once again, thank you so very much, and have a God bless day. Goodbye.